welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 battle report brought to you by the Legion Wargaming. On the world of Escalon Prime, the Imperial war machine has ground to a halt in the face of overwhelming aggression from the Eldar of Craftworlds Iyanden. For their own mysterious reasons, the Eldar have deployed massive forces onto this planet, and the Astra Militarum have responded in kind, summoning divisions from all over the subsector in an effort to reclaim this world in the name of the Emperor. But neither side can gain definite advantage, and a stalemate has developed with both human and Eldar locked together along a 4,000 kilometre line of destruction. But today, the Imperial High Command has hatched another breakthrough plan, and in this ruined sector is the target of their mechanised advance. But the Eldar are calling upon their own forces for a swift counter-strike. The battle today is 1,850 points. It is Astra Militarum versus Eldar Craftworlds, a Maelstrom of War mission. It is Deadlock with Dawn of War deployment. Let's take a look at the armies. This 1,850 point Eldar army is battle-forged and consists of a combined arms detachment and 2 aspect host formations. The combined arms detachment is led by this army's warlord, which is an autarch on a jet bike with a laser lance. He has brought along 2 troops choices. Both of them are squads of 6 Eldar jet bikes who have been joined by warlocks also riding jet bikes, and all of these wind riders have scatter lasers. The combined arms detachment also contains another HQ in the form of a Spirit Seer, and he will be joining an elite choice, which is a squad of 5 Wraith Guard. They are mounted in a Wave Serpent with twin-linked bright lances. The first of the aspect hosts contains 2 squads each of 10 Dire Avengers led by Exarchs. They are both mounted in Wave Serpents with twin-linked bright lances. And the final squad in this formation is 7 Warp Spiders led by an Exarch. And the second aspect host contains 3 Shining Spears. They're led by an Exarch with a Star Lance, 5 Striking Scorpions led by an Exarch with a Scorpion's Claw, and 5 Swooping Hawks led by an Exarch. And all of the aspect warriors in both of these formations will have ballistic skill 5. This is a very fast and very elite Eldar army. Will it be able to triumph over the Astra Militarum? Let's take a look at what the Guardsmen are bringing along. This 1,850 point Astra Militarum army is battle-forged and consists of a single combined arms detachment led by 2 HQ choices, the first of which is a tank commander in a Leman Russ Exterminator with heavy bolter sponsons. He is accompanied by a squadron mate with the exact same loadout. The second HQ choice is a company command squad with a heavy flamer and 3 grenade launchers, and they are mounted in a Chimera with a hull-mounted heavy flamer. We have 3 troops choices, which are all squads of veterans from the Armageddon Steel Legion. All 3 of these squads have 3 plasma guns, and they have the Grenadiers Doctrine giving them carapace armour. They are all mounted in Chimeras. This detachment contains a single elite choice, which is a squad of 6 Militarum Tempestus Scions. They have 2 plasma guns, and they are mounted in the first of 3 fast attack choices, which is a Vendetta with 3 twin-linked las cannon. The second fast attack choice is a Vulture gunship with the dreaded twin-linked Punisher cannon, and the third fast attack choice is a squad of 10 Rough Riders. To round out this detachment, we have 2 heavy support choices, the first of which is a Leman Russ Executioner with a hull-mounted las cannon and plasma cannon sponsons, and finally we have a Leman Russ battle tank with heavy bolter sponsons. These are the Guard who have been tasked with breaking through the Eldar lines. Will they be able to do it? Let's see. We move into deployment. And the armies have deployed with the Eldar Rapid Response moving in at high speed. On their far left they have deployed a squadron of Wind Riders looking to flank the Guardsmen, and next to them we have a squad of Warp Spiders in cover looking to engage their Warp Jump generators. Then we have the Wave Serpent containing the Wraith Guard and the Spirit Seer. They are moving up behind the autarch himself, who has been joined by the Shining Spears. Then in the centre we have another squadron of Wind Riders. They are approaching the striking Scorpions, who have stealthily infiltrated forwards, and on the Eldar right flank we have both squads of Dire Avengers in their Wave Serpents. The Eldar have the Swooping Hawks in reserve. Meanwhile, with the rumble of engines, the Astra Militarum armoured spearhead has come crashing into this sector. On their far left flank we have two squads of Armageddon Steel Legion veterans in their Chimeras, and crashing through this building we have the Company Command Squad in their Chimera. Colonel Commissar Holst is moving up with his squadron mate. His autocannon are already panning for targets. To their right we have the Lehman Russ Executioner. Then we have another squad of Armageddon Steel Legion veterans hull down in this ruined building, and on the Guard's far right flank we have the Lehman Russ battle tank. The Guard have left a lot in reserve. They have the Scions in the Vendetta and the Vulture gunship and the Rough Riders. The objectives have already been placed, with these Dire Avengers in their Wave Serpent already holding Objective 1. Objective 2 is next to these barrels in the open. The stealthy striking Scorpions have already crept past Objective 3, and Objective 4 is protected by the formidable form of the Lehman Russ Executioner. Objective 5 is very close to the Eldar lines over on this flank, and Objective 6 is in these ruins next to the quad gun. The Eldar deployed first, so unless the Astra Militarum can seize the initiative, we go into Eldar Craftworlds, turn 1. Start of Eldar turn 1. With the Astra Militarum failing to seize the initiative, the Eldar have drawn their first 6 objectives. This is deadlock. Both sides want to rack up as many victory points as possible before the objectives start to dry up. And the Eldar have had a mixed draw for their first set of objectives. They have drawn Psychological Warfare and Assassinate. If they hope to achieve either of those, they're going to have to crack open at least one Imperial Guard vehicle. They've also drawn Overwhelming Firepower, also achievable. They're guaranteed at least 2 victory points, as they've drawn Secure Objective 3 twice, and their last objective is particularly interesting. They have drawn Behind Enemy Lines. Usually difficult for armies to achieve maximum points for that on turn 1, but there are an awful lot of Eldar jet bikers here, so we shall see as we move into Eldar movement phase turn 1. End of Eldar movement phase turn 1, and the Imperial tank crews look on aghast as a massed wave of jet bikers breaks cover and lances straight for their armoured spearhead. We have one squadron of Wind Riders moving up on this flank in the centre. We have got the Autarch leading the Shining Spears forward, and we have the other squadron of Wind Riders moving over to join him as well. Meanwhile, the Spirit Seer and his Wraith Guard have moved forward in their Wave Serpent. They are now claiming Objective 5 and looking to give fire with their transports, Twin Link Bright Lances. The Warp Spiders disappeared and reappeared. In the centre they have moved forward 15 inches. Meanwhile, over on the Eldar right flank, the Striking Scorpions have crept forward, taking cover behind these tank traps in the open street. This squad of Dire Avengers in their Wave Serpent have hovered over to make sure the Eldar claim 2 points for securing Objective 3, and meanwhile the other squad of Dire Avengers in their Wave Serpent are happy sitting on Objective 1. Both of these Wave Serpents are going to try to knock out some of the advancing human vehicles with their Bright Lances. The Eldar are being extremely aggressive. Let's see what they can achieve in their first Psychic phase. End of Eldar Psychic phase turn 1, and with 6 warp charges, both Warlocks attempted to put conceal on themselves and their Wind Riders. This Warlock succeeded, but using 3 warp charge dice, this Warlock failed to roll a single 4+. That is disappointing for the Eldar. They were hoping for 2+ Jinx saves on the Jet Bikers. That is not to be now for this central squad. Let's see what the Eldar do going into Eldar shooting phase turn 1. End of Eldar shooting phase turn 1, and the Wind Riders have shown just how swift they are. This squadron has come in weaving between the Leman Russ Executioner and this Chimera. They are now in a position to score behind enemy lines, and it is the same story for the Autarch leading the Shining Spears, and the other squadron of Wind Riders, the Eldar, have covered this distance with alarming speed. But their shooting was quite disappointing, as the twin-linked Bright Lance shot from this Wave Serpent rebounded harmlessly from the frontal armour of this Leman Russ, and the two other Wave Serpents managed to hit the Command Chimera with their Bright Lances. They got a single penetrating hit, which has stunned the Imperial Command Vehicle. Meanwhile, the Scorpions have advanced another 2 inches. They look like they are preparing an ambush for the Imperial forces, and the Warp Spiders have run forward 5 inches. The Eldar have caused very little damage to the Imperial forces, but they have shown just how swift they can be as we go into Eldar Assault Phase Turn 1. End of Eldar Assault Phase Turn 1, and with the Eldar launching no assaults, the only action of the phase was the jetpack move of the Warp Spiders. They have moved forward another 6 inches trying to get into cover in this central ruin building. And that brings Eldar Turn 1 to a close. They have managed to get 2 victory points for securing Objective 3 twice. They have also got another 2 on their D3 that they got for behind enemy lines, but they failed to achieve psychological warfare, overwhelming firepower, or assassinate. So they are disappointed with that. They also failed to achieve first blood. The score at the end of Eldar Craftworlds Turn 1 is 4 points to the Eldar. Nothing yet to the Astra Militarum as we go into Astra Militarum Turn 1. Start of Astra Militarum Turn 1, and they have drawn their first 6 objectives, which are secure Objective 1, which is going to be very difficult this turn, secure Objective 2, which is currently uncontested. They should be able to do that. They've also drawn secure Objective 4, which they're already holding. They have drawn Supremacy, which, with the Eldar holding 3 objectives at the moment, will be quite tricky. They've drawn Overwhelming Firepower, always popular with the Imperial Guard, and their final objective is Kingslayer. The Eldar Warlord is the Autarch. Let's see what the Astra Militarum do. Going into Astra Militarum Movement Phase Turn 1. End of Astra Militarum Movement Phase Turn 1, and the Colonel Commissar has reacted quickly to the swift assault of the Eldar Wind Riders on this flank. He has ordered his heavy armour to turn all of their firepower upon the Eldar jet bikers. This Leman Russ has backed up, and its battle cannon is panning for targets. This Chimera containing the Armageddon veterans has spun round. It and its veterans may well be giving fire against these Wind Riders in the centre. The Leman Russ Executioner has also spun round. It's still holding Objective 4. It is going to open fire with its ferocious weaponry upon these unfortunate jet bikers, and the commander and his squadron mate are also going to try to shred them with a hail of anti-personnel fire. Meanwhile, over on the left flank, the command squad in their Chimera, they are stunned. They are doing nothing at the moment. This Chimera has moved forward at cruising speed. It is now holding Objective 2, and the other Chimera with the other squad of veterans has moved up at combat speed. It's going to see if it can give some supporting fire. The Imperial Guard have completely spun their axis of advance. Will it pay off? We shall see. Going into Astra Militarum Shooting Phase Turn 1. End of Astra Militarum Shooting Phase Turn 1, and the Eldar jet bikers in the centre have paid the price for their Warlock's failure to summon Conceal on himself and his squad. Although the Wind Riders did an excellent job of jinking round the fire of the Leman Russ Executioner, with only one of them going down, 2 more were shot down as 2 Armageddon Steel Legion veterans popped out of the top hatch of this Chimera with their plasma guns, and the remaining 3 Wind Riders and their Warlock were then cut to pieces by a hail of fire incoming from the 2 Leman Russ Exterminators. The jet bikes over on the right flank have also suffered some damage, as this Leman Russ battle tank opened fire with its battle cannon, taking out a Shining Spear and a Wind Rider, and then the Chimera opened fire with its multi-laser, cutting down another Shining Spear. But the Autarch and the Shining Spear Exarch have passed their morale check. Meanwhile, over on the Astra Militarum's left flank, the Chimeras all attempted to target the striking Scorpions in cover behind these tank traps, but had no effect. And with no assaults, that brings Astra Militarum turn 1 to a close. They have managed to get a point for securing objective 2 and another one for securing objective 4. They have got a point for overwhelming firepower thanks to the destruction of the Wind Riders in the centre, and that also gives them first blood. They failed to secure objective 1 and they failed to achieve Kingslayer or supremacy. But that brings the score at the end of game turn 1 to 4 points to the Astra Militarum and 4 points to the Eldar. How will the Eldar respond? Let's see, going into Eldar Craftworlds turn 2. Start of Eldar turn 2, and the Eldar decided to keep the 3 objectives they failed to achieve in their hand from turn 1, so they still have psychological warfare, overwhelming firepower and assassinate. They have drawn 2 new objectives, which are Kingslayer. The Eldar have decided to target the Colonel Commissar, and their final objective is secure objective 4, currently held by the Leman Russ Executioner. In other news, the roll of a 1 means that the Swooping Hawks have failed to arrive despite the presence of the Autarch. Going into Eldar movement phase turn 2. End of Eldar movement phase turn 2, and it looks like the Wind Riders and the Autarch, the last remaining Shining Spear, are commencing their strafing run of the Imperial Guard lines. These Wind Riders are moving towards this Leman Russ, and the Autarch and the Exarch look like they may try to take out this Chimera. In the centre, the Warp Spiders have leapt forward. They are hoping for a good battle focus move. They want to get into the rear arc of the Leman Russ Executioner. Meanwhile, the Striking Scorpions have broken cover. They are moving as quickly as they can towards this squad of Armageddon Steel Legion veterans in their Chimera. And the rest of the Eldar, they are happy to sit back on the objectives by the look of it. We have one squad of Dire Avengers holding objective 1 in their Wave Serpent, another squad of Dire Avengers holding objective 3 in their Wave Serpent, and the Spirit Seer and the Wraith Guard are sitting on objective 5 in their Wave Serpent. That could be very, very good for the Eldar in terms of victory points as we progress through this battle. Let's see if this Warlock can once again summon up Conceal on his Jet Bikers in Eldar Psychic phase turn 2. End of Eldar Psychic phase turn 2, and with 5 dice available, this Warlock used them all to put Conceal on himself and his Jet Bikers. He succeeded with 3 successful warp charges, and the Astra Militarum could not deny it. As we go into Eldar Shooting phase turn 2. End of Eldar Shooting phase turn 2, and with a quick gesture, the Autarch has ordered the Wind Riders to ignore this Leman Russ. He and the Exarch have decided to deal with it. The Exarch has already stripped off 1 hull point thanks to a glancing hit from his Star Lance. Meanwhile, the Wind Riders have accelerated up and over the Leman Russ. They are now holding objective 4, and the Leman Russ Executioner is no more. The Warp Spiders managed to get a 6-inch run. That brought 4 of them into its rear arc, and that was enough, as with a punishing volley from their monofilament weaponry, they managed to get 4 penetrating hits on the Imperial Guard tank. That is a point for overwhelming firepower. Meanwhile, these 2 Wave Serpents, they combine their Bright Lances to inflict a single glancing hit on this Leman Russ Exterminator, but the other Wave Serpent was once again unsuccessful with its Bright Lances as they rebounded harmlessly off of this Leman Russ battle tank. But the Eldar have been very aggressive so far. Let's see if that continues in Eldar Assault phase turn 2. End of Eldar Assault phase turn 2, and screaming their war cries, the Autarch and the Shining Spear's Exarch dipped their lances and charged into the Leman Russ battle tank. It took only a single laser bolt from the Exarch Star Lance to detonate the Imperial vehicle. Meanwhile, the Scorpions, they made their charge into this Chimera. They charged 11 inches and easily wrecked the Imperial vehicle. The Eldar were hoping to pick up a point for psychological warfare if this squad of veterans failed their pinning check, but the Guardsmen are standing firm. They are not pinned, and the Eldar are not getting a point for psychological warfare this turn. Meanwhile, the Warp Spiders, they have leapt backwards they are preparing to weather the Imperial retribution that is surely on its way. That brings Eldar turn 2 to a close. The Eldar, they have managed to get 1 point for securing objective 4, and they've also got another point for overwhelming firepower thanks to the warp spiders destroying the Leman Russ Executioner. But they have failed to achieve psychological warfare, they have failed to achieve assassinate, and they have failed to achieve Kingslayer as well. The Eldar appear to be inflicting a lot of damage on the Astra Militarum, but they are not scoring that many victory points. The score at the end of Eldar turn 2 is 6 points to the Eldar, 4 to the Astra Militarum, and the Colonel Commissar is on his Vox calling in air support as we go into Astra Militarum turn 2. Start of Astra Militarum turn 2, and having discarded secure objective 1 at the end of their first turn, the Guard have drawn 3 new objectives to go with Kingslayer and Supremacy that they still have in their hand. But unfortunately for the Guardsmen, the first new objective they drew was secure objective 1 again. But they have also drawn secure objective 5, that could be tricky, with this Wave Serpent containing the Wraith Guard and the Spirit Seer sitting on it, and they have also drawn secure objective 6, which is currently uncontested, and the Guard have a plan to secure that objective as the Rough Riders have arrived from reserve. As he hears the sound of crude engines, the Autarch turns his head, but his gaze is drawn upwards as the form of the Vulture gunship has also appeared over these buildings, and it looks like it is lining up for an attack run on the Autarch himself. The Guard have Kingslayer in their hand. If he goes down, that could be an excellent result for the Guardsmen this turn. Let's see, going into Astra Militarum movement phase turn 2. End of Astra Militarum movement phase turn 2, and it looks like the Guard are preparing to strike back. Over on the left flank, the Striking Scorpions find themselves surrounded as this squad of veterans move up in their Chimera and disembark. The squad that were forced out of their Chimera by the attack of the Scorpions have taken up a firing position behind these ruined walls, and the Company Command Squad have moved forward in their Chimera. Their Chimera has a heavy flamer. They also have a Guardsman with a heavy flamer who is about to come out of the top hatch. These Scorpions could be in deep trouble. Meanwhile, the Tank Commander and his squadron mate, they have turned to bring their weaponry to bear on the Warp Spiders, who have been such a thorn in the Imperium's side so far. Meanwhile, these jet bikes will find themselves targeted by the newly deployed squad of Armageddon Steel Legion veterans that have disembarked from their Chimera. They are hoping to at least make them jink, but hopefully down a couple of them with their 3 plasma guns. And of course the Guard are hoping that the Autarch and the last Shining Spear go down to the firepower of the Vulture. These Rough Riders have been ordered to run forwards to claim objective 6. It looks like the Guard could be in a very good position if they have a good round of firing. Let's see. Astra Militarum shooting phase turn 2. End of Astra Militarum shooting phase turn 2, and it has been an excellent phase for the Guardsmen. The Vulture opened fire with its twin-link Punisher cannon, shredding the Shining Spear Exarch and reducing the Autarch to a single wound. The Eldar Lord thought he might survive until the nose-mounted heavy bolter opened fire, and with a burst of 3 heavy bolter rounds knocked the Eldar Lord from his saddle. That is Slay the Warlord and Kingslayer. Meanwhile, the Rough Riders, they have moved forward to secure objective 6, earning another point for the Guardsmen. And in the centre, the Guard have once again demonstrated that they have a particular talent for overwhelming firepower. These Armageddon Steel Legion Guardsmen opened fire with their plasma guns. The jet bikers jinked, giving them a 2+ cover save, but one biker was still blasted from his saddle. Then a volley of lasgun fire erupted from the veterans. Another jet biker fell, and unfortunately for the Eldar, it was their Warlock. The Tank Commander and the other Leman Russ Exterminator opened fire with a hail of heavy ammunition, cutting down 5 of the Warp Spiders and wounding the Exarch. There is only 1 Warp Spider and the Exarch remaining. That is another deadly Eldar unit that has been gutted this phase, and the Scorpions are no more. 2 heavy flamers washed over them, taking out 2 of them, and then a huge volley of lasgun fire erupted from 2 squads of Steel Legion veterans, easily cutting down all of the remaining Scorpions. The Guard are ecstatic with their second turn. They have no assaults, so their second turn has come to a close. They have managed to get a point for securing Objective 6. They also get a point for Slay the Warlord, and their roll for Kingslayer was a 3. So they have managed to rack up 5 points this turn. They failed to secure Objective 1 again. They are discarding it again. They are keeping Supremacy in their hand along with secure Objective 5. But the score at the end of game turn 2 is 9 points to the Guardsmen, 6 to the Eldar. The Guard have really torn the heart out of a lot of key Eldar units this turn, and they have also gone ahead in victory points as well. The Eldar are going to have to work hard to get back into this one. Let's see. Eldar Craftworlds turn 3. Start of Eldar turn 3, and they still have Psychological Warfare, Assassinate and Kingslayer in their hand. They have drawn a single new objective, which is no prisoners, and they are determined to achieve it. They have been bolstered as well by the arrival of the Swooping Hawks, who have deep struck, and as they did so, they unleashed a shower of grenades that took out 2 of the Rough Riders. Going into Eldar movement phase turn 3. End of Eldar movement phase turn 3, and the Eldar Grav tanks resolutely refuse to abandon objectives 1, 3 and 5, but they have hatched another plan. They have both Assassinate and no prisoners as objectives this turn. They would dearly like to achieve D3 for both of those, so the Grav tanks are preparing to unleash their Serpent Shields at various targets. The Spirit Seer and the Wraith Guard in their Wave Serpent, they have got the Rough Riders in their sights. They are hoping that between their Serpent Shield and the newly arrived Swooping Hawk supporting fire, all of these Rough Riders will be cut down. That will be 1 point for Assassinate and 1 point for no prisoners. Meanwhile, in the centre, the jet bikes, they have pulled back. They intend to use their scatter lasers to crack open this Chimera, along with the support of the Warp Spiders. These jet bikes, they jink, they will be firing snapshots, but they are still optimistic. And if this command squad is forced out of their Chimera, then they can be targeted by the Serpent Shield of this Wave Serpent, or perhaps even the Serpent Shield of this Wave Serpent, but that can always target this squad of Steel Legion veterans. The Eldar are reeling, there is no doubt about it, but with a good performance this turn, they could get back into the driver's seat of this battle. We have no psychic phase since the Spirit Seer refuses to disembark from his Wave Serpent, so we go straight into Eldar shooting phase turn 3. End of Eldar shooting phase turn 3, and their plan started off very well over this side of the battlefield as the Rough Riders were torn to pieces by the combined fire of the Serpent Shield from this Wave Serpent, which took down 5 of them, and a volley of laser fire from the Swooping Hawks, which took out the remaining 3. The Swooping Hawks have run for cover in these rocks, hopefully protecting themselves from any retribution from the circling Vulture gunship. In the centre, the Eldar jet bikes and the 2 remaining Warp Spiders managed to do a whole point apiece and wreck this Chimera, and that forced the company command squad to disembark. The Serpent Shield on this Wave Serpent opened fire on them, but only managed to take out 2 of the Guardsmen, so the other Wave Serpent was forced to add the fire of its Serpent Shield as well, but that got the job done. All of the remaining members of the command squad were wiped out, and the Eldar are quite pleased. That has given them 3 units destroyed for the purposes of no prisoners. They are disappointed to have only taken out 2 characters, but they still have their assault phase, although it does look like we only have the jet bike moves and the Warp Spiders jetpack moves. We will see. Eldar assault phase turn 3. End of Eldar assault phase turn 3, and sure enough there were no assaults launched, only the move of the jet bikes, who have pulled back 5 inches, and the jump of the Warp Spiders, who have let back 11 inches, and that brings Eldar turn 3 to a close. They have managed to get a single point for Assassinate. They only managed to take out the company commander and the Rough Rider Sergeant. They needed 1 more character for D3, but they got D3 for no prisoners, taking out the Rough Riders and the Chimera and the company command squad. They have rolled a 2, meaning that they have got 3 victory points during this turn as they fail to achieve psychological warfare or Kingslayer. And the score at the end of Eldar Craftworlds turn 3 is 9 points to the Eldar and 9 points to the Astra Militarum as we go into Astra Militarum turn 3. Start of Astra Militarum turn 3, and as well as Supremacy and Secure Objective 5, which the Guardsmen have retained in their hand from previous turns, they have drawn 2 new objectives. The first is Hungry for Glory, which is not going to be particularly easy to achieve, but the second is Ascendancy, and the Guard are hoping they can get D3 for that. And the Guard have also been reinforced, as with the sound of high-powered turbofans, the Scions have arrived in their vendetta. It looks like they have got these Eldar Grav tanks in their sights. Going into Astra Militarum movement phase turn 3. End of Astra Militarum movement phase turn 3, and the Colonel Commissar feels confident that his armoured column have weathered the Eldar's attack. He has ordered them to continue their advance, and the Steel Legion certainly are advancing on the left flank. Both squads of veterans are moving forwards while their lone remaining Chimera smashes through the wreckage of the other Chimera to secure Objective 2. It looks like these Guardsmen are keen to add the fire of their plasma guns to the Vendetta's twin-link las cannon in order to knock out one of these Wave Serpents. In the centre, the Colonel Commissar and the other Leman Russ Exterminator are happy to direct the advance. They have held position. They intend to take out the remaining Warp Spiders. They are confident that the Vulture gunship, which has banked around, can deal with the few remaining Wind Riders, and this squad of Armageddon Steel Legion veterans has been ordered to secure Objectives 4 and 6. The squad itself has moved through cover to secure Objective 4, and their Chimera has smashed through these ruins and is now holding Objective 6. That is enough for the Guard to claim Ascendancy. Let's see if the Guard can have another effective shooting phase. Astra Militarum shooting phase turn 3. End of Astra Militarum shooting phase turn 3, and the Vulture gunship once again showed how deadly it is, as with a blast from its twin-linked Punisher cannon it cut all 4 remaining Wind Riders to pieces. Meanwhile, the Warp Spiders were cut down in a volley of fire from the tank commander himself, and then he ordered his squadron mate to split fire and to target this Wave Serpent, but the Wave Serpent jinked its way through the single glancing hit from the Leman Russ's autocannon. It also managed to jink 2 out of the 3 hits inflicted by the Vendetta. It took 1 glance and lost a hull point, but took no further damage from the plasma guns of this squad of Armageddon Steel Legion veterans. The other squad of veterans ran forwards, and this Chimera, snap shooting with its multi-laser, unsurprisingly did no further damage. This squad of Steel Legion veterans in the centre ran forwards another 4 inches to consolidate their hold on Objective 4, and their Chimera, already having seized Objective 6, decided to fire some snapshots with its multi-laser at the swooping Hawks, but did no damage. And with no assaults, that brings Astra Militarum turn 3 to a close. They did not manage to achieve Supremacy or securing Objective 5 or Hungry for Glory. They have decided to discard secure Objective 5, and more bad news for the Guard. Although they managed to achieve Ascendancy for holding Objectives 2, 4 and 6, they only rolled a 1 on the D3. They have only got a single victory point this turn, bringing the score at the end of game turn 3 to 9 points to the Eldar, 10 to the Astra Militarum, going into Eldar turn 4. Start of Eldar turn 4, and they still have Psychological Warfare and Kingslayer in their hand. They have had those objectives for the entire game. They have not managed to achieve them, and they have been disappointed that despite holding Objectives 1, 3 and 5, they just have not been drawn. Well, Objective 3 was drawn twice in the first turn, but 1 and 5 have not come up, and their plan of sitting on those objectives has not generated any victory points, and it continues to be the case as they have drawn their new objective. It is not secure objective 1 or 3 or 5, but it is appropriate to their current situation. They have drawn hold the line. Let's see if they can do it. Eldar movement phase, turn 4. End of Eldar movement phase, turn 4, and realising that they were achieving very little, stuck over in this corner of the battlefield, the swooping hawks have leapt skywards once again. They have gone back into ongoing reserves. Meanwhile, the Spirit Seer and his Wraithguard have finally deployed. Their Wave Serpent has moved forwards, and the Spirit Seer is hoping that his Wraithguard can get some lucky hits on the Vulture. This flyer really is too dangerous for the Eldar to allow it to continue to fly around, unleashing its Punisher cannon. And with the Spirit Seer deployed, the Eldar will once again have a psychic phase. Meanwhile, this Wave Serpent is still sitting on Objective 3. It has not moved, nor has it deployed its Dire Avengers. It is within 12 inches of the Eldar board edge, so it is going to help to achieve hold the line. And this Wave Serpent, which jinked in its previous turn, has not moved either. It is going to help achieve hold the line, and so are the Dire Avengers, who have come pouring out of its troop compartment. They are going to unleash a storm of shuriken fire through this ruin onto the advancing Steel Legion veterans, and they are within 12 inches, so the Eldar will at least be getting 1 point this turn. But there are very few Eldar forces left. Let's see if the Spirit Seer can make any difference in Eldar Psychic phase, turn 4. End of Eldar Psychic phase, turn 4, and with 3 warp charges available, the Spirit Seer put all 3 into casting Terrify. He found he was just in range of this squad of Steel Legion veterans. The power went off successfully, but he was left disappointed as the Stoic Guardsmen passed their morale check. That is a shame from the Eldar's perspective, as that would have given them a point finally for psychological warfare. But never mind, we move into Eldar shooting phase, turn 4. End of Eldar shooting phase, turn 4, and much to the relief of the Eldar, the Vulture gunship elected to jink when it was targeted by the Wraithguard and their Wave Serpent, although it didn't need to in the end, as neither the Eldar constructs nor their transport could get a single hit on the Imperial flyer. Both Wave Serpents over this side of the battlefield targeted the Tank Commander Squadron with their Bright Lances, but had no effect, and it was shaping up to be an extremely disappointing phase for the Eldar until these Dire Avengers opened fire. They unleashed a storm of shuriken through this ruin, and although the Steel Legion were in good cover and only 3 of them fell, it was enough to make the veterans fall back. The Eldar have finally got a point for psychological warfare, and with no assaults, that brings Eldar turn 4 to a close. As well as the point for psychological warfare, they get a point for hold the line, thanks to the Dire Avengers and the 2 Wave Serpents, and they are finally discarding Kingslayer. At the end of Eldar turn 4, the Eldar are once again in the lead. It is 11 points to the Eldar and 10 to the Astra Militarum as we go into Astra Militarum turn 4. Start of Astra Militarum turn 4, and they still have supremacy and hungry for glory in their hand. They have been fortunate with the new objective they have drawn. It is secure objective 4, which they're already holding. It is worth noting that although the Eldar's plan of holding objectives 1, 3 and 5 has not paid off for their own victory point score, it has made it impossible for the Guard to achieve supremacy, which they've had in their hand for a long time. So the Eldar can be satisfied with that at least as we go into Astra Militarum movement phase turn 4. End of Astra Militarum movement phase turn 4, and it looks like the Guardsmen are pressing home their attack in this sector of the battlefield. Even though it jinked and will be firing snapshots, the Vulture has come weaving its way through these ruined buildings. It can still get quite a lot of hits with its twin-link Punisher, even needing 6s. Meanwhile, the Vendetta has dropped down into hover mode and the Tempestor Scions have deployed. The Vendetta wants to knock out the Wave Serpent and the Scions want to cut down the Dire Avengers. Meanwhile, in the centre of this street, the Steel Legion veterans are advancing. They have been ordered by their sergeant to try to knock out this Wave Serpent with their plasma guns. The Chimera will be adding supporting fire as well. The squad of veterans that fell back Last turn, they rallied on a double one and they are back in the fight. They are advancing. The commander and the Leman Russ Exterminator are going to be targeting this Wave Serpent with their autocannon as well. And this squad of veterans that has consolidated its hold on Objective 4 very well now. They are in good positions behind these barricades. They also find their plasma guns to be in range of this Wave Serpent, so they are going to add their fire in that direction as well. The only other Astra Militarum unit is the Chimera, stuck out on its own by Objective 6. It is going to try to cut down some Wraithguard if it can. Let's see. Astra Militarum, shooting phase, turn 4. End of Astra Militarum, shooting phase, turn 4, and this Chimera did no damage to the Wraithguard as it targeted them with its multi-laser and its heavy bolter. In the centre, these veterans on Objective 4 targeted the Wave Serpent in the middle of the Eldar defence with their plasma guns but did no damage, and they have lost a veteran whose plasma gun overheated. The tank commander and the other Leman Russ Exterminator, they managed to strip a single hull point off the central Wave Serpent with a glancing hit from their autocannon, but it was the advancing Steel Legion veterans here that managed to smash through its frontal armour with a plasma bolt and detonate the Eldar vehicle. One of the Dire Avengers embarked was taken out in the explosion and another was cut down as this Chimera opened fire with its heavy bolter. The Vendetta was very disappointing as it managed to do no damage to this jinking Wave Serpent, and the Scions were even more disappointing as they did not manage to take out a single Dire Avenger with their volley of fire. The Vulture performed better. Even though it needed 6s to hit, it managed to cut down 2 Dire Avengers from this squad. And with no assaults, that is it for Astra Militarum. Turn 4, they have only managed to achieve 1 victory point, which is for holding Objective 4. They have decided to discard Hungry for Glory, and the score at the end of the 4th turn of this battle is even Stevens. It is 11 points to the Guard, 11 points to the Eldar. Who can pull off a victory here? We shall see going into Eldar Craftworlds turn 5. Start of Eldar turn 5, and the Eldar have had a very fortunate draw of objectives indeed. They have drawn 2 new objectives, and they are Big Game Hunter and Secure Objective 6. And if the Wraithguard march forwards and unleash their Wraith Cannon on this Chimera, they can achieve both in short order. Meanwhile, the Swooping Hawks have once again descended from the skies. They have appeared on the opposite end of the Astra Militarum line, and they have dropped their grenades, once again taking out 3 guardsmen from this squad of veterans, including 2 of their plasma gunners. The Eldar are striking back. Let's see, Eldar movement phase, turn 5. End of Eldar movement phase, turn 5, and the Wraithguard, led by the Spirit Seer, are advancing to take Objective 6 and destroy this Chimera. Meanwhile, their Wave Serpent has held position. It is still holding Objective 5, and it can see with its twin link bright lances the hovering form of the Vendetta. In the centre, these Dire Avengers are advancing. They've decided to cut down all of the humans advancing on their position. This Wave Serpent has held its ground. It is going to try to give fire again with its bright lances, but it will be firing snapshots yet again. And the Dire Avengers over on this far flank have advanced into these ruins. They want to cut down all of the Scions. Of course, the Swooping Hawks, they are going to give fire to try and take out these Steel Legion veterans. They are happy being in a line breaker position. This game could still go either way as we go into Eldar Psychic phase. Turn 5. End of Eldar Psychic phase, turn 5, and the Spirit Seer once again used all 4 of his warp charges to successfully cast Terrify on these guardsmen, but once again these heroic members of the Armageddon Steel Legion have passed their morale check. They refuse to fall back. The Spirit Seer is disappointed. He is hoping for a better performance in Eldar Shooting phase, turn 5. End of Eldar Shooting phase, turn 5, and 4 Wraith Cannon hits from the Wraithguard absolutely annihilated this Chimera, earning the Eldar a point for Big Game Hunter and allowing these Wraithguard to secure Objective 6 for another point. Their Wave Serpent decided to target the hovering Vendetta, which bravely elected not to jink and was rewarded as, despite the reroll for being twin linked, the Bright Lances failed to hit the Imperial Flyer. These Dire Avengers advanced up to these barricades and unleashed their Avenger catapults upon the advancing Steel Legion veterans, cutting down 4 of them. That proved to be too much for the 3 survivors. They are falling back. Meanwhile, the Scions are no more. A volley from the Dire Avengers in this ruin building cut them down easily. But the Swooping Hawks were disappointed, as the 15 hits they got with their las blasters on this squad of Steel Legion veterans only amounted to 1 guardsman falling. These veterans rolled excellently for their carapace armour, 4+ saves, and the only other firing came from the Wave Serpent, which had jinked in its previous turn. It missed the Vendetta with its twin-linked Bright Lances. But the Eldar are happy. They have got a point for Big Game Hunter. They have got a point for securing Objective 6, and with no assaults, that is the end of their 5th turn. They've also got a unit in a line breaker position. The score at the end of Eldar turn 5 is 13 points to the Eldar, 11 to the Guard. Can the Guard pull it back from here? Let's see. Astra Militarum, turn 5. Start of Astra Militarum, turn 5, and they have drawn a single new objective, which is secure Objective 3. That could well be doable, but key to their plan this turn is the fact they still have supremacy in their hand. If they can take out these Dire Avengers and the other squad of Dire Avengers and their Wave Serpent, that could allow the Guard to hold those 2 objectives and Objective 2 and Objective 4. The Eldar are currently holding 5 with their Wave Serpent and 6 with their Wraith Guard, but that would be enough for the Guard to achieve supremacy. This is going to be very close. Astra Militarum, movement phase, turn 5. End of Astra Militarum, movement phase, turn 5, and the Guard are executing their plan to seize objectives 1, 2, 3 and 4. This Chimera is a Troops Choice dedicated transport. It has objective secured, it has motored up, and it is now holding Objective 1. Meanwhile, the Vendetta is still in hover mode. It has moved into a line breaker position and is going to once again try to finish off this Wave Serpent. These Armageddon Steel Legion veterans have advanced onto Objective 2, which has been vacated by the Chimera, but they are holding it. Meanwhile, the Vulture has dropped into hover mode. It will be holding Objective 3 if all of these Dire Avengers go down to its fearsome weaponry, and it can also count on the supporting fire of the Tank Commander Squadron and these Guardsmen who have advanced, making sure they are still holding Objective 4, of course. Objective 3 is crucial. It's worth a point just for holding it on its own, but if the Guardsmen can take these 4 objectives, they will achieve supremacy. Let's see if they can do it. Astra Militarum, shooting phase, turn 5. End of Astra Militarum, shooting phase, turn 5, and it is mission accomplished for the Vulture gunship. It mowed down 7 of the Dire Avengers with its twin-link Punisher cannon, leaving only the Exarch standing behind these barricades, and the Colonel Commissar took great pleasure in personally executing him with a burst from his Exterminator autocannon. That freed these Guardsmen from the need to target the Avengers. They managed to take out one of the Wraith Guard with a long-range shot from one of their plasma guns. These 3 veterans, who are still falling back, did well, managing to shoot down a Swooping Hawk with their snap-shooting las guns. But these veterans did not fare quite so well. They did no damage to the Dire Avengers in these ruins, and nor did the snap-shooting Chimera. The Vendetta has once again failed to take out this Wave Serpent. It got 2 hits with its las cannons, but once again this Wave Serpent jinked its way through both of them. But the Guard are happy, as they are holding Objectives 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. The Eldar are only holding Objectives 5 and 6. That gives the Astra Militarum supremacy. They also get another victory point for holding Objective 3. They have managed to get 3 victory points in total this turn. 1 for objective 3, 2 for supremacy, but it is enough. The score is 14 points to the Guard, 13 points to the Eldar, and as we have just rolled and the game has come to an end, both sides have line breaker, meaning the final score of this incredibly close and hard fought game is 15 points to the Astra Militarum, 14 to the Eldar. The Astra Militarum are victorious, and they have certainly fought very hard for it. The Eldar, they had a plan of holding some objectives near their deployment zone, but they just were not generated out of the objective deck, and that was disappointing for the Eldar. But the Guard, they have done very well. Their veterans have done a good job of standing up to the deadly Eldar aspect warriors. Their armour made very short work of the attack of the Eldar Wind Riders, and we are very pleased to see the Astra Militarum victorious. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel, and we will keep producing as many Warhammer 40,000 battle reports as we can. See ya!